Podcast Bites.
You could have a ketogenic diet that is not carnivorous, and that can include some plant foods. And for some people on ketogenic diets, they include a lot of dairy, which can be problematic for some people for a variety of reasons, which we can talk about. But the idea is that the difference between a ketogenic diet and a carnivore diet is that a carnivore diet is obviously not going to have any plant foods. But on a ketogenic diet, you could include some plant foods that may be potentially immunotoxic, like we're talking about. Mm-hmm. You could include things that might have immunogenicity. Specifically, I'm thinking of some of the most toxic offenders or the most immunologically active offenders for people are plants like in the genus Solanaceae, which are the nightshade vegetables, potatoes, tomatoes, eggplant, peppers. Those are all quite immunologically stimulating for people in a bad way. So you could have those. A lot of
people on a ketogenic diet are doing like resistant starch, for example, green bananas,
exactly,
cooked potatoes that have been refrigerated, after being cooked in coconut oil, that type of thing.
Right. So you could have a lot of foods on a ketogenic diet which may have toxins, may have plant toxins like we're talking about, or may have lectins or other things which could trigger the immune system. So the carnivore diet is not going to have any of those plant foods. Mm-hmm. Now, when you are on a carnivorous diet, when you're eating nose to tail, you will also be in ketosis because there are no carbohydrates or no plant-based carbohydrates. There's actually a small amount of carbohydrate in meat. If you look at it, it's on the order of like 10 grams a day. When you're just eating meat, you are getting some carbohydrates from the meat, but it's very small. So on a carnivorous diet, you will be in ketosis. And if you check your ketone levels, depending on the fat to protein macro, they usually, depending on the person's individual genetics, what we generally see is 0.5 to 1.5. People on ketogenic diets may have a little bit higher levels of ketones, but it just depends on the fat macro and how much fat to protein you do.
So the fact that I have over there in the ice cream, or over in the freezer behind us, ice cream made of egg yolks, butter, coconut cream, a little bit of monk fruit, and dark chocolate powder makes that a very non-carnivorous ice cream, although it is ketogenic.
Exactly.
So you cannot say you're on a carnivorous diet if you're, say, like having butter coffee and cooking your steaks in coconut oil or extra virgin olive oil and having like a keto bomb ice cream.
Exactly. And again, I would say that the reason that you would want to cut out those plant foods for a lot of people would be to see if you feel better from an energy standpoint, from a mental clarity standpoint, from a sleep standpoint, from a mood standpoint, from an autoimmune standpoint, without the plants that could potentially be triggering immunologic reactions in people or creating net nutrient deficiencies.
What about coconut oil and coconut cream?
So there's an interesting thing here. So coconut has salicylates in it, which a lot of people can be sensitive to. So coconut butter or the coconut cream has a lot of the husk in it. So that's going to have more of like the actual coconut fiber and the coconut things in it. The coconut oil technically isn't going to have any of the coconut particles in it, but it could still have some salicylates. Then you get into this idea, it gets pretty granular, of oleosins, which are these sort of plant-derived fat-based molecules with proteinaceous structure in them. So even some of the plant oils like olive oil and coconut oil can have proteins that identify that as a plant-based food in them. And those may even trigger some people. So if people are at a very, immunologically triggered state, I would recommend that they consider cutting those out completely and then reintroducing them, this kind of thing.
Toast, dairy, eggs, everything.
Avocado, motherfucker.